The 1980s gave us blockbuster icons: E.T., Back to the Future, The Breakfast Club. But for every smash hit, there were brilliant films left behind. Forgotten gems that dared to be different. Emotionally raw, visually bold, narratively strange. These aren't your typical 80s movies. These are the lost legends. Let's rediscover the ones that deserve their moment. 1. Time After Time, 1980. Before time travel became formulaic, Time After Time reimagined it with eerie class and a dash of horror. H.G. Wells himself becomes a time-traveling detective, chasing Jack the Ripper from Victorian London to 1979 San Francisco. It's a cat-and-mouse thriller wrapped in historical fantasy, with Malcolm McDowell as a gentle idealist and David Warner delivering cold menace as the Ripper. What makes this film unforgettable is its emotional core. Wells isn't just hunting evil, he's discovering how terrifying the future can be. This version of San Francisco isn't a utopia. It's filled with the very violence he thought science would cure. And yet, amid the cynicism, he finds love. In a surprisingly tender performance by Mary Steenburgen, Nicholas Meyer, who later directed Star Trek II, made his debut here. The direction is patient, confident, and stylish, without overplaying the genre. It's a film that's thrilling, romantic, and disturbingly timely, even today. Time After Time deserves recognition for blending sci-fi, suspense, and social commentary before it was fashionable, and for proving that the scariest monsters might be the ones we bring with us through time. 2. My Bodyguard, 1980. Not all high school movies from the 80s were about prom queens and jocks. My Bodyguard told a quieter, braver story. Clifford Peach, a lonely new kid at a Chicago high school, becomes the target of a relentless bully. In desperation, he hires the school's outcast giant, Ricky Linderman, to protect him. But what starts as a bodyguard-for-hire plot transforms into something rare, a study of friendship, grief, and redemption. Ricky isn't just a muscle-bound protector. He's a haunted teen rumored to have killed his own brother. Clifford is awkward but deeply human. Their growing bond peels back the myth of masculinity, showing that real strength often lies in vulnerability. Unlike glossier teen comedies, My Bodyguard is grounded and sincere. It treats its characters, even the bullies, with nuance. The city feels real, the pain feels real, and the small triumphs feel enormous. For its emotional depth, early performances from Adam Baldwin and Matt Dillon, and its refusal to glamorize violence or high school cruelty, this film should be remembered as one of the era's most honest coming-of-age tales. 3. Cutter's Way, 1981. You probably haven't heard of Cutter's Way, and that's a tragedy. This forgotten neo-noir is soaked in post-Vietnam paranoia and moral rot. Jeff Bridges plays a drifting yacht salesman. His best friend, Cutter, is a bitter alcoholic veteran missing an eye, a leg, and his last shred of hope. When they witness a murder, Cutter believes a local tycoon is responsible. But is it real or another drunken delusion? Cutter's Way is part thriller, part character study, and all mood. John Hurd's performance as Cutter is volcanic, funny, tragic, and constantly teetering on the edge. Bridges, restrained and skeptical, is the perfect foil. Set in a sun-drenched Santa Barbara that feels decayed beneath the surface, the film strips away the American dream with every scene. It's about men lost in time, war-torn, aimless, angry, grasping for purpose in a country that's moved on. Critics loved it, audiences missed it, and that's the injustice. Cutter's Way deserves recognition for its fearless look at trauma, corruption, and friendship. It might be the best 80s movie you've never seen. 4. Looker, 1981. Before deepfakes, before CGI influencers, there was Looker. Michael Crichton's underseen thriller predicted a media-obsessed future we're now living in. The plot? A plastic surgeon notices that top models he's worked on are turning up dead. He uncovers a terrifying plot by an ad agency using advanced technology to digitally scan, control, and ultimately replace real humans. Albert Finney stars in one of his strangest roles, navigating a world where beauty is data and reality is optional. Susan Day plays one of the models, caught in the web of a media conspiracy that's years ahead of its time. The film even features the first use of CGI human figures, crude by today's standards, but groundbreaking then. Beyond that, it's a razor-sharp satire of consumerism, television hypnosis, and surveillance capitalism. Looker didn't connect with mainstream audiences, maybe because it felt too weird or too cynical. But rewatch it now, in the age of filters and AI influencers, and you'll realize Crichton wasn't writing sci-fi. He was issuing a warning we ignored. 5. The Last American Virgin, 1982. At first glance, The Last American Virgin looks like another goofy teen sex comedy. Pizza delivery boys, loud soundtracks, ridiculous misunderstandings. But halfway through, it does something no one expects. It turns heartbreakingly real. The film follows Gary, an awkward teen chasing love in all the wrong places. He falls for Karen, but so does his best friend. What unfolds is a story of betrayal, loneliness, and raw teenage emotion. The ending? One of the most gut-wrenching in teen film history. This isn't just a comedy, it's a tragedy wearing a neon jumpsuit. The characters feel like real teenagers, selfish, confused, hormonal, and deeply hurt. Director Boaz Davidson based it on his own youth, and it shows. The film is unpolished, honest, and drenched in 80s heartbreak. While audiences expected a Porky-style romp, what they got was a quiet, emotional sucker punch. The Last American Virgin deserves recognition for subverting its own genre. It told the truth when everyone else was selling a fantasy. That makes it unforgettable. 6. Liquid Sky, 1982. This isn't just a movie, it's a hallucination pressed onto celluloid. Liquid Sky is what happens when downtown New York's post-punk art scene collides with alien invasion. A UFO the size of a dinner plate lands atop a Manhattan apartment, feeding on the endorphins released during sex and heroin highs. Meanwhile, androgynous model Margaret battles predators, addiction, and her own fractured psyche. The visuals are deliberately abrasive. Neon makeup, plastic fashion, brutal lighting. The soundscape hums with eerie synths and alien pulses. Anne Carlyle plays both male and female leads, exploring gender, fame, and annihilation in a way no mainstream film dared attempt in the 80s. This film was made on a shoestring, yet it pulsates with artistic fury. Critics were split. Some called it incomprehensible, others visionary. But one thing's certain. Liquid Sky is a singular experience. It doesn't imitate, it infects. In a world flooded with sleek sci-fi, this film is jagged and dangerous. Forgotten by most, worshipped by few, it deserves a revival not just for its wild imagination, but for predicting a future where addiction, alienation, and artificial identity blend into one disturbing truth. 7. Local Hero, 1983. Where most 80s films move fast, Local Hero dares to go slow. An American oil executive is sent to a sleepy Scottish village to buy the land for a refinery. He arrives ready to conquer, but the longer he stays, the more the village, and its quiet magic, begins to conquer him. It's a gentle satire with no villains, only characters. The villagers are quirky, but not caricatures. They pretend to resist the oil deal, but secretly hope to strike it rich. The executive, played by Peter Riegert, begins to shed his corporate armor. He gazes at the stars. He walks barefoot on the sand. And when the deal is done, he finds he's lost something he never knew he had. Director Bill Forsyth weaves humor, melancholy, and wonder into every frame. The cinematography captures rugged coastlines and foggy twilight with painterly grace. And Mark Knopfler's soundtrack, shimmering and wistful, ties it all together. Local Hero isn't loud. It doesn't shout to be remembered. But in a world obsessed with speed, its quiet charm is more radical than ever. It deserves recognition because it reminds us, progress isn't always forward. Sometimes it's a return to something smaller, softer, and more human. The Keep, 1983. It had Nazis, ancient evil, supernatural fog, and a Tangerine Dream score. It was directed by Michael Mann. And still, the keep was buried by its own ambition. This World War II horror fantasy is one of the most fascinating failures of the 1980s. A group of Nazi soldiers occupy an ancient fortress in Romania, but the walls hide more than stone. They imprison a demonic entity. As the soldiers are picked off one by one, a mysterious figure emerges, a kind of eternal warrior sent to contain the darkness. Visually, the keep is stunning, glowing crosses, swirling mist, surreal dream logic. But the studio slashed its runtime from over 2 hours to 90 minutes, leaving plot holes and confusion in its wake. Man disowned the film. Critics dismissed it. Yet beneath the chaos lies something hypnotic. Scott Glenn, Ian McKellen, and Gabriel Byrne play it completely straight, lending the mythic tale a tragic weight. And that Tangerine Dream soundtrack? It's a haunting symphony of doom. The Keep deserves recognition not as a perfect film, but as a flawed, audacious swing at something greater. Few horror films dare be this poetic, this abstract, this grand. It's a fever dream of war and mythology that refuses to die. And maybe that's the point. Ninth Testament, 1983. There are no explosions, no mushroom clouds, no generals yelling into phones. And yet Testament is one of the most terrifying nuclear war films ever made. The story begins on a quiet day in a California suburb. Then, a news bulletin, a flash, and silence. The bombs fall off screen, and we're left with the aftermath. Jane Alexander plays a mother struggling to keep her family alive as the world quietly dies around them. Power fails, food disappears, children get sick, neighbors bury neighbors. There's no score to manipulate your emotions, just cold, brutal reality. What Threads was to Britain, Testament was to America. A mirror held up to our comfortable lives, asking what would be left when civilization evaporates. Jane Alexander's performance earned her an Oscar nomination. It's not dramatic, it's honest, and that's what makes it unforgettable. The film was barely promoted. Maybe it felt too real. But Testament deserves recognition as a human-sized apocalypse, one that doesn't look away, doesn't flinch, and doesn't forget that in the end, survival is more than staying alive. It's holding on to meaning. 10. The Brother from Another Planet, 1984. What if an alien crash landed in Harlem, not to conquer Earth, but to hide? That's the quietly radical premise of The Brother from Another Planet, a low-budget sci-fi gem by director John Sayles. The alien, black, mute, and barefoot, blends in as a human. Played with incredible nuance by Joe Morton, he observes the world with wide eyes and gentle curiosity. He fixes machines with a touch. He watches the poor struggle, the powerful abuse, the systems fail, and he never speaks a word. Pursued by two white men in black, the film flips the alien invasion genre on its head. The outsider isn't the threat, he's the witness. Through his eyes, we see a society that's already alienated, divided, and broken. It's a rare blend of science fiction, social commentary, and warm-hearted humor. It doesn't preach, it listens. And in listening, it says everything. The Brother from Another Planet deserves recognition for proving that science fiction doesn't need lasers or explosions. It needs empathy, it needs perspective, and sometimes it needs a silent stranger to show us who we really are. 11. Repo Man, 1984. No 80s film captured the nuclear angst, punk rage, and existential absurdity of youth quite like Repo Man. Emilio Estevez stars as Otto, a disaffected teen who stumbles into the surreal world of car repossession, and into a trunk hiding something glowing, radioactive, and possibly alien. What unfolds is part science fiction, part satire, and part punk rock fever dream. The film skewers everything: capitalism, authority, suburbia, and even the film industry itself. Cars vanish into thin air. TV evangelists scream. Government agents chase shadows. Otto just wants to understand anything, but the more he learns, the weirder it gets. Written and directed by former Repo Man, Alex Cox, this film is built from the bones of Reagan-era disillusionment. The soundtrack, featuring Iggy Pop, Black Flag, and Suicidal Tendencies, is a time capsule of 80s punk rebellion. Yet its themes remain timeless: distrust in systems, hunger for meaning, and the surreal absurdity of modern life. Repo Man isn't just strange, it's prophetically strange. Long before ironic cult movies were a thing, this one waved its middle finger at the world and dared you to laugh, think, or walk away confused. It deserves recognition for showing that rebellion doesn't need polish, it needs purpose. 12. Streets of Fire, 1984. It's not quite a musical, not quite a western, not quite science fiction, but Streets of Fire is all these things and more. A self-proclaimed rock and roll fable, set in a dreamlike neon-lit city where time stands still. When a rock singer is kidnapped by a biker gang, led by a terrifying Willem Dafoe, her ex-soldier lover returns to rescue her. What follows is a blend of guns, guitars, fistfights, and heartbreak, all set to pulsing music and rain-slicked streets that feel like a comic book come to life. Directed by Walter Hill, the film flopped on release. Audiences didn't know what to make of it, but over time, it's become a cult phenomenon. The visuals are bold, the songs unforgettable, and the tone pure 80s operatic swagger. Streets of Fire deserves recognition for its fearless genre blending and stylish ambition. It doesn't apologize for being too much. It celebrates it. It's a cinematic mixtape of rebellion, romance, and rock, waiting to be rediscovered by a generation that finally gets what it was trying to do. 13. Ladyhawke, 1985. In an age before CGI castles and fantasy universes ruled the box office, Ladyhawke dared to tell a tragic love story in medieval tones, with just enough magic to make it timeless. Rutger Hauer plays Etienne Navarre, a knight cursed to become a wolf by night. Michelle Pfeiffer is Isabeau, his beloved, cursed to become a hawk by day. They are forever close, but never together. Caught in the middle is a clever thief who becomes their unlikely link to redemption. The story plays like a dark fairy tale, filled with Gothic cathedrals, misty forests, and themes of loyalty, vengeance, and undying love. The Alan Parsons-style synth score is a bold choice, but it gives the film a strange, unforgettable rhythm. Director Richard Donner crafts a fantasy unlike any other. There are no elves or wizards, only pain, longing, and myth wrapped in mortal skin. Ladyhawke deserves recognition for its originality, its aching romance, and its willingness to blend genres and moods. In a landscape now crowded with formulaic fantasy, this film still feels like a breath of enchanted air, lonely, poetic, and fierce. Onder tinci Turk bin sekis, use sex and beer, 1985. You've probably never heard of Turk 182, and that's exactly why it needs attention. This underdog drama tells the story of Jimmy Lynch, a young man outraged by how the city treats his firefighter brother, who was injured off duty and denied compensation. With no legal recourse, Jimmy takes to the streets, tagging city property with the cryptic phrase Turk 182, and turning the name into a symbol of resistance. What begins as graffiti escalates into a full-blown movement, baffling police, angering politicians, and capturing the imagination of a city craving justice. Timothy Hutton brings passion and fire to the role of Jimmy, balancing idealism with frustration. The film blends comedy, drama, and a bit of action. But at its heart, it's about one voice making noise in a world that won't listen. It's a movie about protest, before viral campaigns and hashtags. It's about speaking truth to power with nothing but spray paint and guts. Turk 182! Deserves recognition for its populist spirit, its emotional core, and its message that even the smallest act of defiance can start something bigger than one person, especially when no one else will fight for what's right. 15. Trouble in Mind, 1985. Seattle becomes a noir dreamscape in Trouble in Mind, Alan Rudolph's forgotten slice of stylized crime cinema. It's not our Seattle, it's Rain City, a fictional place dripping with fog, jazz, and melancholy. Chris Christopherson stars as Hawk, a weary ex-cop fresh out of prison, trying to stay out of trouble in a world where trouble follows like a shadow. He meets a young couple, naive and broke, who get pulled into the city's criminal underbelly. Hawk becomes their reluctant protector, even as he wrestles with his own past and the enigmatic femme fatale who still haunts him. Visually, Trouble in Mind is pure atmosphere. Neon reflections, rain-soaked alleys, and smoky lounges swirl around philosophical musings and crime drama tropes. It feels like Casablanca got lost in a Blade Runner alley. The film wasn't a hit. It was too weird, too slow, too different. But that's exactly why it matters now. Trouble in Mind deserves recognition as a mood piece, a genre poem, a noir that trades guns for glances and car chases for cigarette smoke. If you want to disappear into another world for 111 minutes, this forgotten gem will take you there. 16. The Manhattan Project, 1986. What if a high school science fair project could build a working atomic bomb? That's the terrifying premise behind The Manhattan Project, a film that blends Cold War paranoia with teenage rebellion. Paul, a brilliant student, discovers that his mom's new boyfriend is secretly running a covert nuclear weapons lab, hidden in plain sight. In a move both reckless and genius, Paul steals plutonium and begins assembling a bomb, not to use it, but to prove it can be done, to expose the danger of government secrecy. But once the authorities catch on, the line between whistleblower and terrorist begins to blur. This isn't a teen comedy. It's a sharp, tense thriller with real-world stakes. The dialogue is smart, the pacing relentless, and the questions it raises about morality, secrecy, and youthful idealism remain as potent now as they were then. The Manhattan Project deserves recognition for showing that teen films can be more than crushes and cliches. It dared to ask, what happens when a smart kid decides to shake the world, and the world takes him seriously? 17. River's Edge, 1986. When a teenager murders his girlfriend and shows the body to his friends, they don't scream, they don't run, they do nothing. River's Edge is a chilling portrait of emotional numbness, a generation so detached, so lost, they can't even react to death. Keanu Reeves, Crispin Glover, and Ione Skye lead a cast of dead-eyed teens trapped in a nowhere town. Glover's performance is unforgettable, manic, philosophical, and broken all at once. Dennis Hopper appears as a drugged-out recluse who keeps a sex doll for company. This isn't a murder mystery. It's not even about justice. It's about apathy, about the quiet horror of kids who've seen too much, felt too little, and have no language left for grief. Filmed in muted tones and stark silence, River's Edge doesn't flinch. It forces you to sit in the discomfort, to understand that the true enemy isn't violence, it's indifference. River's Edge deserves recognition because it saw the emotional void of modern youth long before it was fashionable to worry about it. It's not an easy film, but it's an essential one. 18. Someone to Watch Over Me, 1987. Ridley Scott is best known for Alien and Blade Runner, but in between, he made Someone to Watch Over Me, a romantic thriller that glows with style, tension, and emotional danger. Tom Berenger plays a working-class New York cop assigned to protect a wealthy socialite after she witnesses a murder. He's married, she's vulnerable. As the case unfolds, the two slip into an affair, one that risks more than just broken hearts. What sets this film apart is its atmosphere. Scott paints New York like a noir painting. Wet streets, shadowed stairwells, soft jazz filtering through the gloom. The romance is slow, adult, and morally murky. The danger feels both external and internal. It wasn't a blockbuster. Maybe because it didn't fit into a clean box. Too romantic for action fans. Too tense for romance lovers. But it's that in-between space where the film thrives. Someone to Watch Over Me deserves recognition for being a grown-up thriller. Lush, tragic, and hypnotically seductive. It's a Ridley Scott gem, hidden in plain sight. 19th Miracle Mile, 1988. What would you do if you found out the world was ending and had only 70 minutes left to live? Miracle Mile answers that question in real time with heartbreaking suspense. Anthony Edwards stars as a man who accidentally intercepts a phone call meant for a government official. Nuclear war is imminent. He races through Los Angeles, trying to find the woman he just fell in love with, and maybe escape the blast. What follows is panic, chaos, and beauty. The city becomes a battleground of rumors, riots, and desperate hope. People make impossible choices. Love becomes both a burden and a beacon. Director Steve DeJarnot crafts a haunting score and a relentless ticking clock atmosphere. The ending, no spoilers, is poetic, shattering, and unforgettable. Miracle Mile bombed at the box office, but its cult following has grown steadily. In an age of doom-scrolling and daily crisis, its message feels even more relevant. Time is short. What will you do with it? Miracle Mile deserves recognition as a lost masterpiece of real-time suspense and apocalyptic love. 20th Dead Heat, 1988. What happens when buddy cop comedy meets zombie horror? You get Dead Heat, a genre mashup so wild it shouldn't work. And somehow, it does. Detectives Roger Mortis and Doug Bigelow are investigating a string of bizarre crimes. The twist? The robbers are dead. Reanimated corpses sent back into action by a mysterious lab experimenting with immortality. When Mortis himself is killed and brought back, the race is on. To solve the mystery before his reanimated body deteriorates for good. Yes, it's ridiculous. Yes, it's hilarious. And it's absolutely full of gooey, gory practical effects. Joe Piscopo's one-liners and Treat Williams' straight man energy give the film a weirdly effective rhythm. The tone veers from action to absurd to horror without ever losing its pulse. Dead Heat deserves recognition for being gleefully bold, proudly strange, and purely 80s. In an era where genre lines are blurred for marketing, this movie bulldozed through them with a laugh, a shotgun, and a reanimated corpse in tow. These forgotten 80s films weren't made to be forgotten. They were bold, strange, and ahead of their time. Now's your chance to rediscover them and give them the recognition they always deserved. Which one will you watch first? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more hidden gems.